He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is, Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, and today I am with Coach Gary Mintier, the defensive coordinator at North Hall High School. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Lamb.
Hey, man. Guys, as y'all listen to Coach Mintier talk, the first thing you're probably going to notice is he doesn't really sound like we do. Coach Mintier is originally from New Jersey. Coach, how in the world did you get down here?
Well, I grew up a fan of Army, and when I found out I couldn't go there, I went to Alabama for a year and then ended up back in New Jersey for a little bit. And then I realized there's a reason I had left to begin with. So I went to Jacksonville State University and got my degree. When I graduated, I moved back for 1 year, coached, and then I had a child in Alabama, moved back down there, and somehow I found Sean Pender. I guess it was on Teach Georgia. I was about to get out of education because I couldn't find a job being a kid from New Jersey that played football in New Jersey. They'd give me any job. At the time, I had a few jobs, I could get. But everybody in Alabama and Georgia, like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. So it was new to the internet. But I'm just 2000, I guess, 3. So I'm new to the internet. The internet might have been there a while. And I'm trying. So I said, I'm not going to teach. So I had to delete my Teach Georgia account that made me set up with. But I couldn't figure out how to do that. And I ended up on two jobs. One was Berrien County, and it was contact the principal. And the other one was Brantley County, and it was contact the coach. I said, I might have a chance with a coach. I hadn't had any luck with this principal.
So that's how you hooked up with Sean.
Yeah, I called him. And he asked me, he said, where you at? And I explained it to him. He asked me if I like trees. I said, yeah, we don't have a lot, but trees are pretty cool. He said, well, we have more trees than we have people. So I just want you to know that if you're going to come down here, what you're expecting to see. And I had a kid that was about to be 1 year old. I had no job. I mean, I was working, bouncing still, but, I don't know how you can afford a kid as a bouncer.
Right.
So I drove down to Nahunta, and he was interviewing me for a D-line spot. And then he brought me around. I thought he was just introducing me to people, and I ended up in the board office, and I'm filling out stuff. And I'm like, this is insurance stuff. I was like, hey, I have to call my son's mother to see, I don't know, Social Security number and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I think these people are hiring me. But then I figured it out later, I mean, it was tough to get coaches. They're a great place. But, there was only so many jobs, and a lot of people that were from there, they weren't leaving. So getting spots, everybody was coaching 2 and 3 sports. Pender coached 3 at one time as the head football coaches. It was definitely a learning. I mean, Kevin was coaching 3, Kevin Stevenson, he was on a few weeks ago. But a lot of good coaches came through there while I was there. I was fortunate. So
when you hooked up with Sean there, you've pretty much been with him everywhere he's been, pretty much, haven't you?
Yes, I have been with him at every one of his stops because we had left there, went to Cordele for a year. And then Pierce, I was there 3 years. He was there 6. And then when he went to Brunswick, I came on for 2 years. And then I moved up here with Richmond Water and went to Jackson County. And then Sean ended up I had bought a house in Hall County, so it was kind of crazy how it all happened. And the North Hall job came open. And Sean, I called him and said, hey, I don't know if you're looking. I knew his wife. I married him and his wife, so we're really close. Our families, and we spend, a day at Christmas weekend with all the kids and his parents and my in-laws. It's pretty good friendship. It's definitely been a blessing in my life.
Well, that's awesome. So what was it like when y'all left? Y'all got things going in Brantley County. a place that traditionally nobody had ever been able to win at. Y'all win there, and then where did y'all went to Cordele after that?
Yep, you were there with us.
So what was that like?
I mean, that was more to what I was expecting coaching to be like when I got into it. I always thought, we had players. We had a good team, We lost by a point to that Burt team. It was a 1 seed. They made the Final Four and won it the next year. When we had a team, it took a while. It was a lot of work, but it was a pretty cool place to be. I loved it. We weren't there very long. So just getting the opportunity to run the same stuff with different kids, really was a lot of fun. Because you could see the growth and like, oh, this does work when they can't do this.
Right. And then y'all left there and went, I went to Americas and y'all went to Pierce.
Pierce, yeah.
Which was a return trip for Sean, but it was your first time there, right?
No, Sean had never been at Pierce.
Oh, he hadn't been there.
No. It was we were flying back from Dallas. He and I was for the AFCA.
Yeah, y'all go to that every year, don't you?
I didn't this year and I'm lucky I didn't. My wife was like, "You're not going." She never says that. But we had a little girl, and I'm talking about they were driving back in the car, and I was at the hospital. So I was like, man, I guess it was a good reason I sat this one out.
Yeah. You didn't want to miss that.
Yeah, we've been to California. Now they kind of keep it centrally located. I don't know how many football coaches would go to California sometimes nowadays. It's expensive. I was seeing something out there on the Twitter or the X. It was some guy doubled his burrito from $11 to $22.
That's
like at a stand, like in a car, like the truck that you walk up to. I never spent $22 burrito. That's a big burrito, I would like to think.
It better be really, really good burrito.
Yeah, with like some steak in it.
Yeah. So y'all are coming back from Dallas.
We're coming back from Dallas, and he had gotten a phone call from the superintendent at Pierce, and then we had a layover. By the time the layover hit, he got a phone call from McIntosh County Academy that they were looking for a coach too. So he had to make up. That was a pretty interesting process because I'm over here and like looking at the defense we had coming back because you remember we finally figured out it was a good group and we aren't losing one of them. We're losing one kid. And he was battling back and forth, and I'm like, we're going back to that area. But the group we got when he chose Pierce, and of course Keith Goss got the McIntosh job, who's now with us at North Hall. And actually, I remember Cordele. We all went to me, you, Keith, and AJ went to watch them play Cook, and they lost.
Yeah, and
it was Robbie's last game before he was the guy that replaced me.
Right.
Because then Keith became the next coach, and then me, and then Robbie came back. It's kind of weird. I just thought, that circle right there, because you happen to be there, and AJ coached for both me and Keith. So right. AJ had never coached anywhere with McIntosh from that time until I was done being head coach.
So y'all go to Pierce.
And a great group of kids. That sophomore class, freshman class behind it they were ready to win. And we won the region the first year. Lost to that same Cook team in the first round of the playoffs. That's a 1 seed.
Was that Stetson? Was he there?
No, Stetson at the time was an 8th grade quarterback at Brantley County. He was a 7th grader when we were in Cordele. Our first year back, he was the 8th grade. And then he came over to Pierce and was the JV quarterback for a year as an 8th grader again. Gotcha. And then once he got there, he had been, he stayed in the gym in Cordele with his team when they came up to play the Turkey Bowl versus Calhoun. So that relationship, has always been, that's just kind of part of everything we've always done up until, right now. Last year was like the first time Stet wasn't involved in football, and it wasn't that same little circle, a little bit of conversations. But we had Tyler Harris who had moved in, and he went to Central Florida the year after they went undefeated. Is that O'Leary was still there?
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Key was there too. head coach at Tech now.
Well, that's cool.
And we got a game better every year. First year we won the region, lost the first round. Next year we won the region, lost in the second round, and then the third year we didn't win the region, but we went a little further.
So after that, is that when you took the McIntosh head coaching job?
That's when I stopped listening to you, and I took a head job.
Well,
I used to call you every year and say, "What do you think?" And you'd tell me, and you'd say, I know it can be. You say Sean's going to keep you. He loves what you do. So you have a great job. Always remember that. And that's something, I think as a young coach, because I really didn't want to be a head coach. But I'm married. I have a father. We all sit down and talk about stuff and have our discussions when my dad comes to town, about life and where it's going. And the wife and my dad both were like, that's kind of the natural progression. You get phone calls.
Right. Well, I mean, and Ben, you got to know. I mean, I pick at younger coaches all the time about you're not ready. But, I mean, really the only way to find out is jump in there and see.
I agree with that because, what I think in my situation, it's about as unique as it comes, what happened. But we didn't win a game. In the end, that's all I can say. I've had people tell me, come on, Mintier, you're being hard on yourself. We didn't win a game. We had decent talent. We just couldn't find ways to win games. There's a lot of chaos, craziness going on, but in the end, you still got to win a game. But I think I learned a lot about myself as a coach. Whereas, some people are generals and some people are drill sergeants. And I think I'm more of a drill sergeant than a general.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, not for you. I just with what your premise, what you're saying there, because I'm a much better assistant coach, baseball or football, than I am a head coach. And
now I look at it like I just laugh. Me and Goss, we're a big office, 5 of us coaches, and me and Goss are the only ones that are there throughout the day. And Pender's got his own office off to the side. And then both of us have at least been a head coach. So when he gets the phone calls and which ones I'm talking about, it's just like you just laugh. I just laugh. Like, it ain't worth. It's not worth it. To have to just deal with that call. Like, it's such a ridiculous phone call, but you have to deal with it.
Right.
But we don't have to deal with that.
No.
And we might create some of those phone calls we have to deal with. But I don't have to deal with them. That's his job.
Right. And that's
I'm sure created my fair share in 19 years.
Yeah, that's what I think that's why I enjoy being an assistant. I could be a head coach. If you want a CEO guy, I can do all of but dealing with the other stuff, I'm not very good. I'm not a good enough people person to do. I'm too honest.
No, exactly. And I have the great luck that I live in Georgia. I'm married to a girl from South Georgia, and that I'm never going to say. To me, I sound like I've developed a bunch of accent. If I talk to my buddies at home, they make fun of me too. So then over here, everybody's like, "No, you don't sound like you're from the South." And that never worked in South. That was never going to work in South Georgia for me. It worked for Rich. Rich is from up north, McWhorter.
Right.
And he's so smart. You talk about a fun person to work for.
Yeah, and you worked with him at Jackson County, right?
For 3 years. I mean, what a special person.
Well, he's a legend. I'll tell you a story about him. He would call me, and he would call. I remember the first time he ever called me. He was like, "Hey, this is Coach Rich McWhorter," and introduced himself. And I'm sitting there like looking at my phone, like, really?
You playing a prank on me?
Yeah, I thought somebody was messing with me. So he gets to talking with me, and he's like, "I'm interested in some of these jobs that are coming open. Could you help me?" And I'm like, "Help you? You're Rich McWhorter. Why don't you just call these people?
Mail the resume for you.
Yeah, why don't you just call them, tell them you want their job, and that's it. You don't need my help." So that was cool. When I saw that you got to work with him, I bet that was awesome.
So when we were leaving Brunswick, my wife had just lost her dad. And she was like, because I always was ready to go. You used to talk to me. I used to think you were crazy. You say, "I'm going to the mountains, Mintier. We'd be playing golf." That's what you tell me. "I'm going to the mountains." And I was like, why would you want to go to the mountains? It's so stupid. Then I lived by the beach, and the beach was all right. It's cool to skip a day, you know, pull your kid out of school and go to the beach in the middle of the day. That's a pretty cool thing. But I came up here, and I'm like, man, these mountains aren't bad. My wife finally just said, she said, I want to leave South Georgia. So Pender called a buddy, and I interviewed in Maryland, Southern Maryland. And they pay teachers like, I mean, you don't pay coaches like you want coaches to be paid, but they pay teachers. Like my starting salaries, I'm like $127,000 to be a master's level PE teacher.
Good Lord.
I'm like, wow. Now I don't know what the taxes would be like, but I just lived right by St. Simon's Island. So I was already overpaying everything anyhow. Like Brunswick isn't the easiest, the most inexpensive place to live.
Right.
And then Rich was taking the job at Jackson County. And I knew that I was like, I can't take my wife that far away from my mother-in-law. Like that's just kind of not the deal when you come from New Jersey and marry a girl in South Georgia. Hey, I'm gonna bring her back up there. Like I got to bring the mother-in-law with me. She was still working, so that wasn't happening. And we ended up getting the opportunity to work with Rich and him. And I don't know if you know Dick Russell. He was on staff too. You talk about somebody that's a legend. He's just sitting in that room with him. Smart. It's crazy smart.
What was working with Coach McWhorter like?
Rich was awesome. I mean, he loves the kids. He's hard on them. He just reads people so well. Like he's the one person I'd been around that, you know, there's how many different, you got 100 different personalities on a football team, probably between coaches and players. And, you know, even as a head coach, you got to deal with the coaches too. Got the one that's always upset, negative, and Rich dealt with everybody. He knew how to talk to each one of them individually that would fit their needs to make sure that they were ready to do what they needed to do that day. I mean, it was just crazy how, and he could watch film in like 5 seconds. Me and Tyson Baxter, I don't know if you've met Tyson. He was a DC at like Central Foresight this past year. I think he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
He was the DC at Jackson County. I was special teams and secondary. And Dick Russell, the linebackers. Well, Rich could watch like 10 minutes of film, but he watched a lot more than that. But he could watch it. So I'll tell you right now what you're going to have to do. So we have to move this kid, move that kid. And I'm like, why, Rich? That kid doesn't know the plays. He's like, because if you leave that kid out there, this is what they're going to do. They're going to throw this and that at him because he can't cover those two things. So we got to change it up. And sure enough, he'd be right, because if I didn't listen, he wouldn't make you feel bad about it. He'd just look at you like, he'd let you learn on your own. You can make your own mistakes, but he'd try to help you not make them if you could, if that makes sense.
Right.
Sometimes he could look at, he'd say, we're not going to get real cute to try to offset. Like if you're playing Jefferson, when we played him the 1 year, we're a really, really good team. Quarterback was really good. Malachi was unbelievable. Boss Bailey's other son was there. I mean, we were the first year in the program. They were a good team. I think they made a Final Four that year. And he's like, we're not going to try to we're going to make sure we do some things good, and he just knew where we needed to tack and when, just to give us enough so we didn't get just bad beat. It was because we just weren't ready for that.
And then Sean comes back up north.
He did. He came up and interviewed at North Hall and took the North Hall job.
So how is it there? How do you like it there?
I love it. My son's involved in the school. He's up there now. He's 11, so it's just such a and being it's a weird dynamic, Hall County, because it's a county school and there's like 6 of them or 5 of them, but each one's really its own little town. On how they figure that out, I guess because they put a lake between them all. But it's just really a special place, just good people. They love North Hall football. They love North Hall sports. It's one of them schools that I coach soccer. And, we're struggling right now. We're in a rebuild, year 2 of it. But almost all the sports we're pretty solid at. Kids work real hard. I do ISS. I don't, it's not a place where my classroom's never full.
So the 9-to-5 job is pretty good there.
Yeah.
Not too many discipline issues.
Nothing serious. We haven't had anything real serious. You know, the kids are good kids, good families. It's just truly a blessing. He picked a great place to be. And then just being in North Georgia is a lot different. I don't know how much, you know what, and you told me you had Rocky coming on. Well, I remember him coming down there and teaching me the differences. And then when I moved to learn, see some of the things that, you know, how much different it is for kids more than family. I mean, there's a lot to do. Like, I didn't think I'd hike. I think you probably knew that when you talked about moving to the mountains. It's pretty cool. Didn't do it in the Okefenokee Swamp.
No, you can't hike in the swamp.
No, golf is much more expensive up here. You better be a head coach or it's tough to be a coordinator and play golf, unless you're the golf coach, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to have to live on the golf course. I'm going to have a membership.
Well, they got a nice one by us. It's Chateau Alon, about 4 about there.
No, that's a little too. I won't.
Yeah.
I've got a very specific one I've got my eye on that I like. That's in Franklin County that I really think I would like.
Yeah, I like Franklin County. We just went up there 2 weeks ago for soccer. You know, that's when we went up to marry Pender because I was at Valdosta when went up because I married him and his wife Dana. And did you know I got ordained?
No, but I was assuming since you married him that you were.
I've married a bunch of coaches. Like I'm a coach marrier, I guess.
Who would have thunk it?
J.D. Carter. He's the one that thunk it and said, "Hey, why don't you get ordained to marry me?" So I said, "I can do that," because he said every morning when I come in, wear a McIntosh, I read my Bible. I was in there reading my Bible, and the other guys on staff, I don't think were all the time. Not as much as I did, but I saw the 0-10. It was my record, not theirs. But no, I'm just kidding. He asked me to do it, and my wife said, "You remember telling JD you were going to do it?" And I said, "Hey, I'm going to do it. What do I need to do?" So I got ordained and married him, and I married his dad. And Rich was there. Rich was at both of those weddings. He thought that was pretty cool. Maybe that's why he hired me, because it wasn't because of my winning success against him.
Well, that's right. He was at Charlton when y'all were at Bradley.
We played him tight one time, and he threw his headsets and got thrown out of the game, and they went on to score for the last 14 points with him on the bus. And believe it or not, he did it one time I think it was against Franklin County in Jackson. And we came back and won that game too. My wife's like, "See, I told you before we were married when he did that man was smart and he figured that out. And he changed the whole by just throwing his headsets and getting ejected." He did it again. And she looked at all the other moms, the wives. And when he did it, she said, "Oh, they're about to win." And they're like, "You're crazy." She's like, "No, I've seen him do it before."
Yeah, this is all planned.
Yeah, he's a lot smart. He's the smartest one on that field. He ain't going to tell anybody that, but he is.
This is all part of the plan.
I'm going to throw my headsets. They're going to send me. And he walked in and wrote the 80 a check. He did. He said, "Here's my check." Because when we all had to finish the game, we came in, won. He said, he handed him the check that day. He said, "I know." But I think it was all planned because that's the kind of stuff.
A master motivator. Well, you said he knew how to deal with all the different personalities. So I don't know him. I've never met him in person. I've only talked to him on the phone, and he's like the nicest, coolest guy. And I'm just floored. Like every year I'll send him a text or, "Hey coach, you might want to look at this one," or "Surely to God you could get this job," or I'm like, why in the world would these people not hire him?
Have you ever? We need to get y'all together. Have you interviewed him?
No, I sent him a text and told him I wanted to have him on. But
call him this week. I'm gonna tell him he needs to do it because you might need 2 episodes though.
That's
he can
fine.
Tell the story, man. Some of the stuff it's just crazy. Some of the stuff that's happened and that he's seen and.
Well, how he got the job at Charlton County when nobody on God's green earth wanted it.
He was there. He was doing everything. He was just brought down as an assistant, was there for 1 year, and then everybody else left. It was like he was doing all this stuff, and I think they even brought somebody else in, and that person dipped out. And it's like, "Well, I guess you're the coach." He said, "All right, I've been working it anyhow."
So you're in year 20 now, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they had me as. I think it might be 21. 04. So that's always confusing because they give you that one for the bump.
Right.
But I think I have to work an extra year still.
Yeah, that's how I'm like, I say I have 5 years left, but I think I don't know. I may have 6. I don't know. 99, 2000.
Well, you got your specialist, right?
Yeah. I'm a dissertation away from my doctorate.
So does that pay any different than a specialist?
A doctorate, yeah.
No, the dissertation.
Oh, no.
That's what I thought.
No,
So
but
tell me I'm a doctor, and I'm not sure I believe her.
No, all I've got to do is pay another $10,000 to finish, but I'm not going to do it because then then they'll want to move me to a actual real job. You know, they're going to let somebody with a doctorate sit down there and teach. You know, not in middle and South Georgia. They might up in North Georgia, but
they probably like it up here.
Well, Rachel's not going to move.
No, you live in that area.
She's not going to move. She is not moving off the golf course. Trust me, I've had several opportunities to leave, and she ain't about it. She's got a really good job, and I've moved her around enough in all of this. So
isn't it crazy how you get to that point? And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. You know, when I took the head job, and then, you know, I got to coach some cool places, but none of them were like, it was like you almost knew going in that it was going to be short-lived. Like it was just the best resume job to get you back to where you kind of were.
Yeah, get right job.
Wait for the right thing to open up.
Yeah. Well, one thing you said earlier about like how you got over here and how you got started was you looked at who was doing the interview, you know, talk to the principal or talk to the coach, and you just talked to Sean, and Sean, just like that, you were hired.
And I got lucky because when he brought me down, I had 2 credit cards I had just applied for, maybe $600 a piece on each one of them. Well, when they hired me, it was already, I came down on a Monday. So he's starting spring practice. The good old days of spring practice, 2 weeks meant 2 weeks. We go Monday to Friday. The next week, Monday to Friday, scrimmage ourselves, Booster Club feed me in South Georgia. And that was it. So I worked that first day. He gave me a pair of shorts and t-shirt, and I went to Walmart and bought some stuff. But I used my credit card for the hotels because I knew I had a chance at the job. I was like, they're going to pay me. I can pay this back later, kind of like the old student loan theory.
Yeah.
Pay on still.
Yeah.
I'm still paying for that spring break of 01. It sounded like a great deal.
Yeah, but it was just, you know, these days, I don't think some of the younger coaches don't understand that that's the way it used to be. Like the head coach would bring you in, and if he liked you, you might be getting fingerprinted by the end of the afternoon.
And I didn't even meet the superintendent, the principal. They trusted that, hey, this guy's our guy. He's going to do the right thing. The fingerprints came back bad. I didn't get a job. They came back good. Had me a job.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead. Because I didn't get paid. You don't get paid till hopefully the end of September if you can make it. But you usually take that August check and go 13 months and you get the little checks.
Yeah.
So they put me painting in a elementary school. Me and a kid that was playing ball, who was a baseball coach for a while, and Paul Abel, were painting the brand new elementary school because it had to look still clean. So me and him painted every wall in that school that summer. I'd go to football and I'd go paint with him for 4.5 hours.
Go make some spending money.
Yeah, just make enough money to do something with it. I didn't have nothing to spend at the time. I was trying to pay child support, but I wasn't getting paid. It was a very humbling experience, but I think it made me more appreciative of what I had when I got it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been rough for me trying to explain sometimes to, you know, people look at my resume and I'm like, well, look, back in the old days, head coach got fired. If you were second in command, or if you were high up the totem pole, or if you weren't tenured, the new guy came in and he got your teaching slot.
And didn't even want to talk to you.
No, you didn't. It wasn't nothing personal. It was just, hey, you can either resign or be non-renewed, and we're going to get your slot because the new guy needs that slot to bring in his people.
Well, that was when we left Cordele, all of us. Lee Campbell came in right after us. And because most everybody on staff was either going to be there, but they were doing a second sport, the ones were staying or leaving, and his guys weren't there yet. He didn't want to be with the guys that were leaving. So I ended up, other than me, because I was leaving before I wasn't somebody he had to fire. I ended up getting to know him, and I loved him. I thought he's one of the coolest guys I ever met. I got to meet his brother, too.
Oh, yeah, they are.
I'm riding to Peach County. He knew my wife was already moved back in our house in Blackshear. And he's like, I'm riding to see my brother at Peach County. You want to ride with me? I was like, sure, man. What else am I going to do? I was staying with Tucker Jenkins.
Yeah, they're good people. And
yeah, really good coach, nice guy. Learned so much about lifting weights from him just in the 3 months because me and him, did talk a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff happens. Or you get an opportunity, you get an opportunity, I can go here and make more money.
Yeah.
And, if you get an opportunity to sit down and explain that to somebody, it makes sense. Or if they were an old coach, they understand. But now you get administrators, they're like, oh, this guy's moved around a lot. There must be something wrong with him.
That was when I was at Valdosta, because I remember being a kid in middle school, New Jersey. They did a video during ADAP week, talked about Valdosta high school football. And I'm growing up in New Jersey with dreams of being a college football player and all that. And I saw like a high school that was like nothing we'd ever seen, obviously. The way it was followed and the success. And I was like, I want to coach there one day. Because I knew my mom and dad weren't moving to Valdosta. My dad worked at the New York Stock Exchange. So anywhere we wanted to move, he was always like, do they have a New York Stock Exchange there? No. Well, we ain't moving. And I can't argue with him now. I worked at the New York Stock Exchange. I'd still be in New Jersey too, but I'm not there.
Yeah.
If they had a football team, I might have had a chance. And so I just remember watching that. And so when I went, I had some really good offers, more money. My wife's looking at me. So we're leaving head coaching to move into an apartment in Valdosta. So you can make less money because you always want to coach here. After we've just left our house that we're still paying on to move to Darien.
Yeah.
You could be a head coach, and that lasted all of 10 months.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. And we had like a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And, her job. Well, what am I supposed to do for my job? And so I don't know. You'll figure it out, because she's not in teaching.
Right.
And so she did figure it out. But eventually we got to the point where it was, okay, I'm going to go with Rich. And if I take a job, we're not selling a house. And I'll just have to take a job within driving distance.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's been, I remember going to watch y'all play when y'all played Jefferson County and beat them in Jefferson County.
That was a good game.
That was a great game. And nobody on earth thought y'all had a chance. And shoot, when I saw them come out, I didn't think y'all had a chance.
You remember
their
linebacker threw a helmet. I've never even seen a kid throw it. I did track for 5 years. He threw his helmet so far. It was so impressive. I said, because it was just our quarterback made a play late, and we went up by 2 scores, and I'm sure he got held, because he was mad. Frustrated, probably be a better word. And he chunked his helmet. Because I'm sure our quarterback said something to him, because we had a pretty little bunch. And we had, there weren't many games we went into that our receiver wasn't the best player on the field. He was a good football player. Brandon Collins was.
Yeah.
He's different.
Y'all won that game and went down to early and
had to beat at halftime, but we ran out of gas.
Yeah, and that was when E.T. showed up in the second half, put on a show. But that was a great year, and that was fun to watch. And AJ called me last week or a couple of weeks ago because they were having a coaching change.
Yeah,
went through a coaching change and talked to him about that, and he was kind of keeping me informed on what was going on there. And he then told me that they had decided to move in a different direction, so he's moving on.
Yeah, and me and him are really good friends. He's like a brother to me.
I told him he needs to go to Glenn.
I told him he needs to move to North Georgia.
Unless he's going to Bainbridge with Jay, unless he's going with Coach Walls.
I told him he needs to move to North Georgia.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know. It's just different.
That's just and I've been fortunate that I've never been part of that. I guess the most closest was when this is kind of where it was started. This whole when Rance when I was at Valdosta and Rance took the college job at Southern. You know, there was a process they were going to go through to make sure they hired the right head coach. And I had an opportunity to go to Camden. And you talk about, like, the coach is telling you what, you know. Well, I went and sat down with Rodemaker and told him what they had offered me at Camden. He's like, dude, you have to go. You got a wife and kids. He said, I want you on my staff. But he said, I can't. I'm never going to pay you that. So I had to go, you know. When people tell you what, you know, they give you good advice, even though it's not what you want to hear.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just, and that's why I always you try to be honest with people. You know, it might not be what's best for you, but it might be what's best for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you'd rather them stay with you, or you'd rather them be,
yeah, I mean,
you know, that would be good for your program, but what's best for that person might be that they go somewhere else.
Our staff at Valdosta on defense, every one of us have been a head coach. But DeMario, he's the head coach now. You know, you had Ryan Baker, you had me, we had Ryan Branch, John Gamble. Talk about some interesting meetings. There's a lot of good perspectives there. There's a lot of good coaches.
What was it like coaching at Valdosta?
It was awesome. It was everything I ever thought of being more. But it was definitely the amount of you know, the amount of pressure. It was a pressure cooker, like you could see it. I mean, obviously it was as just a position coach. You know, you really got to focus on your players. So, but you could see how it was bigger than it is many places because everything was bigger. I mean, you know, the amount of people at the Booster Club, they're all going to be in it. You know, we have a great Booster Club at North Hall. It's just not as many people because it's a smaller school. But Valdosta is like every single person. It was all hands on deck at everything. I don't know how they all get out for that. I guess just say, hey, I got to do Valdosta football. And the whole area's like, yeah, I understand. But I mean, everything we did it felt like, I guess, being a small college. Other than teaching special ed.
So I didn't realize that's what you taught when you were there.
Yeah, when I left McIntosh as a head coach, I got the special ed add-on because I didn't want to have to be a PE teacher to get the job I wanted football wise. Right. And so I didn't want people only hiring me because I'm a coach. And you know, Rance, he got me special ed, and that was the way I got in the door. Anything else, I don't know that they would have had a spot for me. They might have, but it wouldn't have been such a quick enough to be in all the meetings and stuff because we worked. I mean, I learned so much just being in that room with coaches like that. The detail, you know, because everybody brought something to the table. Everybody on the staff was solid. The coaches, I don't want to say coaches first, but they were coaches. They were coaches equally as much as they were anything else. Right.
And when you left Valdosta, that's when you went back. That's when you went to Jackson County with Coach McWhorter?
No, I was in Camden for a year, and I spent 2 years at Sean's DC at Brunswick. And then I went to Jackson County with Rich.
Oh, I didn't realize you were at Camden.
Yeah, I was at Camden for 1 year.
Who was the head coach when you were there?
Coffee. It was Welton's last year.
Oh, he's such a good dude.
I still text him sometimes. Oh, no, the whole place. Camden's such a good place. Like anyone that's I'm happy that Tucker's there because Tucker's such a good guy and good coach. He deserves that because he's a perfect fit for that place. It's such a nice place. They take such good care. Similar to Valdosta, where there's always all hands on deck. Like you don't have to make too many phone calls to feed the kids.
Right.
You just have to say, hey, we'd like to feed the kids, and somebody's going to come feed the kids. And we loved it. The only thing I regret is we lived in St. Mary's, and I've never been on Cumberland Island. It was across the river. Oh, I guess it's a river. It's in the ocean by the house. And we never went.
Didn't get to see the wild horses.
We didn't go look at the wild horses. We should have went. I don't know how come we didn't.
Coaching football, man, you're busy.
Track too. I did track. We're good at track. But it was so awesome. I mean, that's a special place too. But to me, they know how to treat an employee. I mean, everything was first class. Everything, from the office to the office staff personnel to the admin. I mean, to the way they treated kids. It was. I mean, it's different. It's different to be as good as they are at everything that they're good at.
Right. And they are good at just about everything.
And watch just to be, talk about watching the wrestling coach, just how he interacted with him. Man, I don't know if you follow a lot of wrestling, but follow any wrestling, I mean, they do such a good job, and the way he works the kids, and it's amazing. So I'm a big fan of Camden wrestling. I'm up here, everybody's wrestling. We actually had my safety this year was second time state champion in wrestling. Awesome kid, Connor Free. And so I always joke with everybody because I got to work with him at Camden and be around this program. And it's just amazing how some people just can do stuff that I would never thought of, how to build a program and have it run top to bottom like that from 6 years old and up.
Well, I imagine having the military there too helps with programs like that. I mean, wrestling in South Georgia is not really a thing. I mean, it's not as big as it is in North Georgia. Exactly,
but the best program in Georgia is in South Georgia.
Right.
And it's not even close the way they run it. I mean, I was the head wrestling coach one year at Brunswick. It's the first call I made. He said, man, just come down here. I'll help you. I understand the situation. The other coach had resigned, and I was riding home from the Macon, when they bring the Macon recruiting fair with Pender, where the AD calls and says, you're going to either have to do it. So it was either me or Sean. So you know how that one went.
He wasn't going to do it.
I went home to Candace and said, Candace, this is the situation. She's like, so now how you doing wrestling? I just bought her car and she got rear-ended. So I told him on a Thursday, I told him, I said, okay, I'll do wrestling. I said, so you could take team tomorrow? And I was like, where am I taking them? So I went to a wrestling meet, but it was Friday, Saturday. And we had one car with a baby. So she had to come back up when we got back at 12:15 on Friday night, pick me up, wait for the kids to get their rides. So 1:30, and had me back up there at 5:30 to go for weigh-ins the next morning. It was definitely a learning experience. And then I made a phone call to him.
So do you have a favorite place you've been, or are they all just equally different?
Yeah, they're all,
I mean, from a football standpoint, best place you've been? Like the football coaching part of it.
Valdosta, because, just the way those kids approached, I met people that should be in the NFL that I can't believe aren't. Some of them were, all SEC players. It's just some of the people that just the athletes that I met at Valdosta were just next level.
So it was everything you thought it was going to be.
And more, yeah. Because I couldn't imagine some of the things that would happen. I had read the book. I had read Rance's book from his first year. But, to think that some of the bad things in the book, I don't know if you've read it or not. If you hadn't, it's a good book. I can't even think of the name of it. But, we had a former player murdered week before we find out during Sunday films we were doing films on Sunday morning. So half the staff's got to leave because we got to go to the hospital because the kids they picked up their friend who got shot in front of them, put him in the car and drove him to the hospital. They're covered in blood. It's just stuff like that I could never imagine. That really, and I understand why, some of them kids, football is all they had.
Right.
And they gave it all they had too. Now they didn't shortchange it. I'll give them that. They just, they came to work every day. They were coached hard. The scheme was not simple, but I mean, you're going up against Moultrie. Moultrie went 15-0 that year. Michael Barrett was at Lowndes. He was pretty good. Just won national championship at Michigan.
Yeah, it wasn't like y'all were playing against Rudy Poos every week.
Yeah, everybody had them. That's what you got. Yeah, we had some. There was some games when we played non-region. You knew you were going to win. But those region games, Mark Beach, who's up here, was Pender's roommate in college. He's at Lambert. He had a receiver at Tifton that's in the NFL and the Ravens with the Bozeman. Is that his last name?
Sounds right.
Went to, he's 2 touchdowns a game. When I was at Valdosta and Camden, he got 2 on us both games. Good player.
Yeah, just put me down for 2.
Yeah, right. And so, the level of competition, it was just different. I mean, they had 4 linebackers in Moultrie that were all going to the SEC.
It's insane. Because, we had a good bunch in Cordele that ended up being really good.
Being normal players, though, like, not normal, I say normal. MAC guys.
Yeah. And that's when you started really, that's when we really started growing up as high school coaches in Georgia and started looking at kids as, well, this kid can play here. This kid can play there. That kid, good little high school player.
Yeah. And that's what's kind of crazy because my wife and I have had 2 little girls in the last 2 years. So for my 46th and 47th year, I've added 2 little girls. So that should be it. So there goes retirement, which I'm excited about that because I made that choice on my own. And I've always wanted little girls. I didn't think I'd have 2. I wanted 1, but I got 2. And I love them both.
It's going to be awesome. They'll take care of you.
That's why I had them. I didn't trust nobody else. I love my wife, but I know I'm a little older than she is. So I know that when the nursing home came and I'm not easy, you know how hard I'm to deal with. She, in her right mind, I would say I would put me in a home too if I was her. At least my little girls would call me because my sons aren't going to call me. I'm not saying they don't love me, but I just don't expect a bunch of phone calls from either one of them.
Yeah, little girls love their daddies, they say.
So our plan is now, remember we talked about the mountains. Now my wife, she started watching, I guess, Yellowstone. Do you watch it?
No, I've never seen it.
It's not bad.
I don't watch TV. I read.
You read, I know. I read too. But
Rachel probably looks at it, but I don't.
It's pretty good. Well, my wife has got a crush on Kevin Costner. Okay. He's like, but she loves this guy. So he's on the show. And so she tells me one day, she's like, I want to move to Montana. I was like,
okay.
Start getting Google. No, there's no, okay. You got to have money to move out west. We got to start shooting some stuff in the yard and some oil come out of this ground for that to happen. Beverly Hillbillies. So I said, well, we could probably do Vermont and New Hampshire. They got mountains. I Googled it. What's close to the Rockies, but not quite. Because, they only pay. It's like being in the South again where they're going to, here's $47,000 to be a teacher. Well, even if I have 30 years and I make it to 70, you go up in the Northeast. Oh, you have 30 years of education and an educational specialist? What do you need to be? Actually, it's in media and technology. Oh, you want to be a librarian? I sure do. We're going to pay you $147,000 to be our librarian. Okay, sign me up. I got 2 little girls. They go reading here.
Yeah. Montana, not so much.
Mm-mm. They'll be wanting to hunt and all that. And I'm okay at hunting. My son got a deer last year, but I haven't yet. I
wouldn't mind going out west. I really wouldn't. Like somewhere like, maybe not Montana, but like Colorado, Utah, Arizona,
Colorado's
somewhere
pretty.
like that. Yeah, I'd go there. I've got a niece that lives in Colorado. She's graduating from high school this year. I think we're supposed to go to her graduation, but I don't know. They've got mountains in Georgia, so.
They do. I love these mountains. I've hiked a bunch of them. I'm not doing a good job right now with the 2 little girls because you throw a 20-pound girl in a backpack.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, especially when I'm looking more like a D-line coach every day, not a secondary coach.
Well, coming off the winter, everybody's got their winter weight. Just getting into spring now, I'm sure you'll
I appreciate the positivity.
Trim it down. Well, I'm on Wegovy. I've lost 50 pounds. So, I mean,
what is that? The shots?
The shots, yeah. Yeah, so I've lost a crazy amount of weight. I look like I just escaped from Auschwitz.
I don't think that they'll give me any of that stuff. I gotta get a little bigger, maybe.
Yeah, well, I'm genetically predisposed to being ate up with the sugars, so I was able to get some of it. Plus, everything else I tried wasn't working, and I mean, I wasn't morbidly obese, but I didn't feel good about it. And
well, that's me. I don't, my diets. If I had to pick the diet, which I don't get to pick the diet, but if I had to, we would have pasta every day.
Well, you're Italian.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy like that. So I'll never put it around my mind where you tell me I can't have pasta. And I'm not talking about no whole wheat pasta. I'm talking about like normal pasta. Like if we freeze the sauce and all that, we can have a different meal every day. We have ziti one day, spaghetti the next day, get some olive oil and do a pesto, and then, something else. We even have pizza on Friday.
Every week.
And to me, it would be fine because every day would be a different day. But I don't know that she would never do that.
Right.
Just probably to save me because I would eat it every day. And I'm never not going to.
You'd weigh 350 pounds.
But I'd keep getting shorter like all my rest of my family. So now I'll be like 5'9", 350. Bald with a beard. I don't know what Mario character that is, but I'm sure there's one.
You'd be the next Super Mario brother.
And the bad things, I remember being a kid, Super Lou Albano was it?
Yeah, Captain Lou.
He was Mario on the TV show when I was in middle school.
That's right. You're right. He was. Golly, I never thought I'd see that again. Think of that again. Captain Lou Albano was Mario on the show.
A TV show.
That is insane. I completely forgotten about that.
You're supposed to. I'm sorry I brought it up.
No, that's okay. I mean, I remember that. I don't know who Luigi was, but I do remember he didn't have the rubber bands in his beard for that, though.
No, he took him out.
Man. The random stuff, seeing people don't understand, that's the kind of stuff we talk about in the coach's office.
Oh, it's always something funny. Other than
yeah, we're not talking about football.
I mean, I have the kids, so I tell them they're all old because my kids are the youngest. Which I don't know if that really matters, but that's what I try to tell myself because I have to stay somewhat young because my house is chaos with two little kids and an 11-year-old. And now the one thing I will say about North Georgia that's so different, and I don't know what produces more athletes or not. So my son just plays football. He's just an O-line, D-line kind of kid. There's 3, 4, 5 days a week that there's something I can take him to get training for that. Multiple places. He plays on a travel team, which I never thought I'd be involved with, but I am. And it's been very hugely great for his development. And I almost wish that it was everywhere where the kids had opportunities like that because I see how far he's come. Just doing that, and then it's like you just don't have that in some of these towns in South Georgia. No, so it's almost unfair. I mean, these kids can get speed training. There's so many facilities. I haven't even been to some of them. We did some stuff with the Buford coaches, put something on for little kids the other week. So I brought my son. I paid the money, and Matt Winsley, he was the O-line coach when I was at Valdosta. And because I don't want to coach my kid right now. I'll get to coach him in high school maybe. So I like other people coaching that I know are good coaches, and they did a great job. It was huge. I mean, he's just always getting work. Today before I had this lineman challenge. He goes and trains with his team, and there's 80 kids there doing 7-on-7 from 8 to 11 years old, and offensive, defensive lineman drills, flipping tires, pulling tires. It's pretty neat. And you just don't have that down there because you just don't have the manpower.
Well, you don't have the manpower, and people don't have the money. The disposable income to spend on stuff like that because it ain't free. Them coaches ain't out there doing it for nothing.
No, but the good thing is some people do have a lot of money and they just pay for a bunch of other kids to show up.
Correct.
But some of it you got to pay. But I mean, they do kind of, it's kind of like prorated, I guess it would be. Would that be prorated?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like some people are just going to pay 5 people and say, hey, split it amongst half of them.
Right.
Or if a kid's really good, which that's not the way to do it. But
cheaper by the dozen.
Yeah. And that's what they talk about with the training. If we can get 10 people signed up, I imagine you're going to get a guy to throw some hoops on the ground. My kid's going to go through them for an hour, run a few sprints because he'll run faster for you because I'm paying you than he will for me when I'm yelling at him.
So you would say that's the biggest difference you've noticed up there as far as opportunities for training and stuff like that?
The access to stuff like that. Yeah, like baseball. Now, the baseball coaches up here at my school, they work as hard as anyone I've ever seen. They're 4-on-1 in it, and they're keeping with the rules because we live in a county where everybody's on top of everybody. But the summer, all the kids play perfect game. Like, there's no getting on a bus at 2:30 to go sit in the dugout for 2.5 hours till the rain stops and then get the field right and then play and get home after eating McDonald's at 9:30, 10 o'clock every summer, every Tuesday and Thursday in the summer.
Yeah.
I know you.
No summer league because you don't have to worry about it. They're going to play whatever, travel
They're
ball.
going to travel somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's kind of, and it's just kind of bled over. Like even, Keith Goss's daughter is a really good freshman basketball player. And when we were all looking at this place, she was going into 7th grade, maybe going into 8th. Yeah, going into 8th. So he came up and stayed because he was going to go look around. That's how we all do. You got to open your house up. My wife was like 6 months pregnant. Everybody's coming up. Everybody's going to, with Sean's coming. And I'm just like, no, they're coming to stay at the house. And she's just like, okay. But, that's not really what she was thinking sometimes, but they were all great.
Right.
So his daughter, and he was coming up from South Georgia up here to get her into AAU. So she could do he's driving from all the way down there up to here every weekend, 2 weekends a month. Now it's a lot closer. Just the ability to get to that kind of stuff is what I noticed being the biggest difference.
Yeah, that's different. Well, y'all saved me a spot up there because when I retire, maybe by then, Grayson he should be done with college by then, or he'll be close. I don't know. He swears he's going to Georgia, but he won't go there as a freshman.
Well, I understand that. I'm a parent paying too. I hope I don't have to pay, but I'm sure I will.
He won't go there as a freshman because he won't qualify. His grades aren't. Unless they have a box for autistic kids that they're having to check, he's not. He won't go because he's not a straight A student, and he does. He just plays golf. So, but he may transfer in. So,
is he beating you?
Oh yeah. He's classically gifted, so he does just enough to keep me from hitting him over the head with a stick. Like, why didn't you make an A? Well, I made an 87. What's wrong with that? With minimal effort.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I'd rather you make a 97. Yeah, well, I don't care.
That's how I was.
So, yeah.
That's always drove me crazy, like as an adult, because I'm yelling at my son, we got to have A's and all this. And now, like I said, the start of this was I wanted to go to West Point, and I found out sometime my junior year that I was never getting in. I was happening to be ineligible that year. So obviously I wasn't going to West Point, but that's what my mom would drive. I drive her crazy. And I said, no, look, I need an 85 to pass. Why am I going to get 100? All I got to have is 85.
Yeah, that's exactly how he is.
And that's how I did it.
And he's non-competitive. Like he doesn't realize that he's competing with other people, and it doesn't bother him. But he's an only child that has basically his own apartment over the garage that, he does whatever he wants to do. And as long as he behaves and makes good grades, I don't bother him. So I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do, but whatever he does, when he gets out and gets off the payroll, I may be living up there by myself, but I am going to the mountains.
Mountains are not. You've been telling me that. Now it's going. It's 13 years you've been telling me that, because that's when we were in Cordele, because I had just got married before we came.
Yep, I am definitely headed y'all's way. I need to come up there and visit anyway. I don't know.
Do you go to the clinic at the you need to go to the one at the Lake Lanier's.
Oh, the GFCA one? I hadn't been to that one.
I don't know what the letters are, but I go to it. Oh, that's the only chance. Barry King, I don't know if you know Barry. He coached me at Pierce. Him and Ryan, he's done. Ryan's done a great job.
Yeah,
and he's like Ryan's driver. I'm always Pender's driver. That's what the funny thing. When you introduced me, I was surprised. So that's Pender's buddy, because you go to things, you tell them who I am. They're like, I don't know, and you say Pender's buddy. They're like, oh yeah, I know you're talking about the Yankee guy. And that's what Barry is like, his driver. And hey, as a head coach, AJ Hendricks is my driver. I love AJ Hendricks. He's like one of my favorite people in this world.
Oh yeah, he's good.
The first day he drove me, not even a good stop, because we weren't Georgia Tech. We were at McIntosh. The first day he drove me in my truck, we went to Waffle House to drop off a form for the program. He backed into a pole in my truck. Not brand new, but brand new to me, because it's only like 3 years old. And I was like, AJ, I didn't hit nothing in Pender's truck in like 7 years. That was 9 years. I was like, the first day you wrecked my truck. He said, my bad, I see the pole. And I was like, well, I get that.
Obviously.
So your driver is important, because you can't be a head coach and drive, because you got to nowadays, especially with the cell phone. And as you get older, when the font gets bigger and they got to put the glasses on, they can't do that and drive and everybody be safe.
Oh, I'm wearing Clickets right now, and I just had eye surgery last week, and I mean, I still can't read, but I can see. I got 20/20 vision, but can't read. Still have to wear the Clicket
I wanted to get
eyeglasses.
I use Hubble. I don't know how people don't use Hubble. I feel like I'm the only person that uses it, but it's like disposable contacts that come in the mail.
Well,
it's like the great thing ever. So I just take, if they don't fit, I throw them in the garbage, put another one in.
Well, they replaced the lens, and I mean, and I used to not have a problem until I had a stroke a few years back, and then my eyesight went out and got a cataract. They took it out, fixed it last week, but I've always, in the past couple of years, I've had to wear these readers, and I use these Clickets because I can put them around my neck. They're magnetic.
Yeah, that's what when
don't look. I noticed when we were in Coach Bill Pate, when we were in Cordell, he had them. And I was like, Coach, why do you have those? And he goes, because I won't lose them. And you can't tear them up. And I was like, sweet. If I ever need them, that's what I'm going to use.
When I had to leave Brunswick, and Pender offered me, he needed to get into DC. I wasn't going to be to DC the next year. He had to offer me. So I was, me and him been really close. It was tough with families. And so I was going to get this. He said, well, I'll make you special teams. I'm not going to mess with your pay, but you can't be DC. And I'm like, all right. And Candace she said, I want to get out of South Georgia. I was like, all right. I told Sean. He found some job in Maryland. So when I left, I bought a pair of reading glasses for him, that magnet in the middle, blue ones for Brunswick. And I put them like in his office where he would find them. But I was gone before he found them. And he's like, no, man, I love those glasses, man. Did you find them glasses? He said, I knew you left those for me. I said, man, I just wanted to make sure if those other guys wouldn't read for you, that if you couldn't see it, I would always jump in, because everybody just thinks I interrupt anyhow. So, Minter's just interrupting. But Penner couldn't see it. So I gave him, and the dog ate him. He said, man, my dog ate those. So he asks me, he's like, because I just took a shot in the dark and bought the ugliest pair. Because I wanted him wear them. Because I knew he needed them.
Yeah. And so you get to a point where you don't care. You just want to see.
I told Greg, don't you tell him, but where should I hide him? He said, I think you need to hide him right here.
That's awesome.
So and then he asked me, he said, what was the magnification? I was like, Sean, you really? Do you really think I know that? So he's goes through that all the time. I actually bought him is it an omnical? You know what I'm talking about? Like the Monopoly guy has.
Yeah. A monocle. Yeah.
Ocular. What is it called?
A monocle.
Monocle. I bought him a monocle when I came back to work with him. He's got to use it before, because he lost his other ones. Because he don't buy the magnet ones. Those ones last long.
That's awesome. How much longer has he got?
So that's the crazy thing is, my son's 11. So Sean's daughter graduates, and his youngest graduates in 30. So my son's 31, 2031. He could retire in 30, but he's going to stay through 2031 for sure and make sure that he at least finishes coaching my son for me. So I don't have to worry about going anywhere.
Well, that's cool.
I know, my kid's, he's an offensive lineman. He plays defensive line too, but I don't want him to play defense.
Well, that's cool. That's awesome.
So it's pretty neat. So every time I get one of my moods, my wife has to fix me. When I'm like, I get fired up about something, she's like, can't you just shut up for a little bit? Go for a walk. I got a specialist. And I can teach special ed. She gets, just shut up. Because it's such a good school system for my son.
Oh, yeah.
And he loves it. He loves the kids he goes to school with. Even though he plays on a travel team.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, I sure do appreciate you coming on today. Totally different perspective. Somebody that's came from up north, went to school in Alabama, has spent most of your career with the same coach. And that's just something that doesn't happen a whole lot these days. Sure do appreciate you being on with us, man.
Thanks for having me, man. It was awesome talking with you.
Appreciate it.